What's up, bench warmers fan? It's your boy Jono with my man Jordan enthusiast, Steph Curry enthusiast, Giannis Greek freak enthusiast, my man Lo. What's up?
What's good with you, Jono? You good, man?
Not much,
You
my
good out in
friend.
the
Happy New
streets?
Year to you. Happy New Year to
Happy New Year, man.
everybody. I had a very good 2 week vacation, much needed. Spent some time with family and amidst of what 2020 has brought to everybody here, it was a really good time off. How'd you spend your holidays, Lo?
Man, to be quite honest, holidays has always been kind of a bummer for me, but I
Sure.
survived, I'm saying? 2020 was a wash, as everyone knows, with this pandemic and, just a lot of other things. So wasn't able to visit family as I would like to, but made the most out of it, the best that I could. But I'm just chilling, what I'm saying? It wasn't really didn't really do too much, but nonetheless, I'm
True.
happy that it's a new year. We can start off the new year right with a
That's
new
right.
brand new episode here on Bench Warmers. You already know.
That's right. 2021 is going to bring us a lot of promise. I'm very optimistic about that. Again, super excited to keep the podcast going here, man. And for those who are listening for the first time, myself and Lo are retired former. Well, I'm officially retired, but we are former athletes who now rock the bench and give our sports intakes on the hottest topics weekly. So, with that being said, my friend, the hottest topic of this week. Sunday Night Football, Eagles versus the Washington football team, formerly known as the Redskins. Look, I'm gonna just this game as a Giants
Mm-hmm.
fan, and I'm really gonna try to not be biased here. I really want to
Yeah,
be
let's just get that
authentic.
out the way. Your take
Um,
is going to be based as a Giants fan, and you're not going to really be biased. But go ahead, give your take. That's
I'm
why I let
I'm
you
gonna
go first.
try. Look,
Go ahead.
I'm gonna try. First and foremost, I am very disappointed as a coach, right? As a coach myself, I'm very disappointed with the way the Eagles coaching staff handled that entire game. Obviously, as a Giants fan, I wanted the Eagles to win because it means we're in the playoffs. But all jokes aside, I'm just I feel like it was a disgrace to football and what Doug Peterson did was just I'm just not a fan of it, right? And
Right.
again, trying not to talk from a Giants perspective here. Um, I don't see how that was good for the game. I mean, we're in the midst of a pandemic. As a league, they accomplished. Every single game was played. No game was canceled. It was the last game of the regular season, and there was implications behind it. I mean, if you saw the injury report of the guys that were playing or that opted not to play, it was more than half the starters in both offense and defense. I mean, what's your thoughts on it?
I know you're hurt, and so I'm here to console you if you need me to. I'll give you a hug from a distance, a social distance hug, bro. Because I was waiting for these Giant fans to come out and be like, "Oh, the integrity of the game and all of this foolishness." Like, listen, at the end of the day, you're no better than your record, bro. You were 6-10. You weren't a good football team, and to have your playoff hopes be dependent on your division rival says a lot. You know what I'm saying? So you can't be mad at Philly for not handling their business when in reality you didn't handle your business. The NFC is a joke. The NFC East is a joke of a division, right? Like you only need the 6 wins to make the playoffs in that division. And at the
True.
end of the day, the team that ended up winning this division is a nameless football team that was dependent on a quarterback who hasn't played in 3 years.
Yeah,
What I'm saying?
yeah, I agree. I
I low
mean,
key, I was rooting for Washington only because it's a good story. Alex Smith, who's been out
sure.
injured, life threatening career, comes back and he brings his team to make the playoffs. And that defense is stellar. You know what I'm saying? I think that
Yep.
culture change in Washington, this is a positive. But I don't want to really hear anything from Giants fans and the integrity of the game. Yeah, at the end, what win 7 games, win 8 games, and then have the destiny control in your own hands, right? So you did your part at the end, but Philly has no loyalty to you guys, So that's how I feel you know, about the Eagles Washington football
Right.
game. Yes, it was the
I
last
mean,
game of the season.
wins and losses aside, right? Every team competed in that division from week one, regardless of your record, and by any means, the Giants were awful this year. We were not good. We didn't have a lot of, our quarterback barely played this year, and when he did, he didn't play too good. I mean, he had some weeks that were great. Our backup beat the Seahawks. I mean, it was a very unpredictable year for the Giants, much like the Cowboys, much like Philly with all the injuries they had on their O-line and their defense, and much like the Washington football team. But every single one of those teams competed week in and week out. So my thing is the Eagles had nothing to play for other than a draft pick. It was either the 6th pick or the 9th pick. So did they tank to get the 6th pick? You know what? Let's just throw this game. Let's not play our starting quarterback. Carson Wentz wasn't even dressed. The $100 million man wasn't even dressed. They relied on their second round. For sure. He's 100% out of Philly. But I have every right or every evidence that Philly gave out on week 17 to tell me that they tanked that game. I watched something here on Twitter yesterday, and I sent it to you in the group chat, was Jalen Hurts mouthing that this is not right. He's sitting on the bench in the 4th quarter. I don't know what teammate he's next to, and he's literally mouthing, this is not right. We're talking about a guy who played 4 years under Nick Saban. So he's got the professionalism. He's here to win. He's done everything in college to win. So when he comes into the league, he wants to do the same thing.
But Jono, to win what though? Jalen Hurts, only because Carson Wentz was that bad and inconsistent this year is why Jalen Hurts got the opportunity to play. He showed that he can play. He's still turnover prone. He fumbles a lot.
He's a stud.
But the boy can run. The boy is a better thrower than I think a lot of people anticipated him. And he kind of, motivates the team to rally behind him in his style of play. But again, what does the Eagles owe to the NFL, number one, to Giants fans, number two, and what is this quote unquote integrity that everyone talks about when we know that there was a handful of teams that were literally tanking, for Trevor Lawrence this year,
True.
The Jags, the Jets. And so you don't put so would it have it been better for you, Jono, as a Giants fan, that if he says, hey, we're benching Jalen Hurts this game and we're going to rest our starters, would that have been better for you?
No, it wouldn't have been better. I would have understood if Jalen Hurts played a complete game. I mean, the man had 2 touchdowns on the ground. He was throwing the ball effectively. He did throw an interception, but what do you expect from a 2nd-round rookie quarterback this is his 4th game that he starts to play a guy named Nate Sudfeld? Have you ever heard of him? I've never heard of him.
Nope. No.
I've never heard of it. But to be quoted by, I'll say here what Doug Peterson said after the game, how? The man hadn't played all year. How is this guy, Nate Sudfeld, nobody knows him, how does he deserve snaps? To me, that's a tank.
But again, you guys are trying to make sense of something that is not supposed to be. You're hurt. And I understand you want to make sense of what happened. Doug Peterson, when he stated that, he wasn't really serious. Like, you can't really take what he says as gospel, right? And say, oh yeah, well, that's really what he meant. No. And so Jalen Hurts, as a competitor, you want to play. So it ain't right. But bro, you really have nothing to say. It's a coach's decision. Now, I will say Doug Peterson's response and how he handled this is going to really break up the locker room. So we'll see, but the man can coach. The man is a offensive mind. He just got very inconsistent play from Carson Wentz. But, my thoughts on the whole reaction of Jalen Hurts getting benched, I mean, is that really the reason why he put him in? No, I think he was really trying to stick it to the Giants. I don't think he was trying to do anything outside of that.
That's to my point of getting tanked or playing to be tanked.
And also, you're playing for a draft pick. And so if I can guarantee this loss, why wouldn't I put myself in a position to get a higher draft pick than to win the game, lose it, all to appease Giants fans? And I'm sure that if Giants was in that position, they wouldn't be, this integrity thing, even with the Giants when they benched Eli Manning to put Geno Smith because he deserves snaps. No, they did it because that was the only organization that never started a African American quarterback. So this integrity
that
thing
coach doesn't even have a job anymore. So terrible.
But the point is this integrity that the Giants are talking about didn't even display that integrity when it came to Eli Manning, the beloved Eli Manning, when they benched him and started Geno Smith. So at the end of the day, that's how I feel about the whole situation. Giant fans, y'all got a better draft pick now.
But here's what I want to compare it to, right? And I heard Ryan Clark say this this morning on the TV when JJ Watts went on a rant about how his team wasn't playing hard and he threw some shots here and there. It's week 17. The Texans have nothing to play for. They're not even getting their number 3 overall pick. It's going to Miami. Deshaun Watson was still in the pocket. He was still throwing the ball. He was still playing. So what's the difference?
I wouldn't have started him. I wouldn't have started him. As a coach, I'm like, why would I risk injuring my franchise quarterback for a meaningless game? Or for whatever the case may be. We see this all the time in the NBA, in the NFL. I mean, there was teams that rested because they already locked in their, this is why fantasy football ends in week 15 and not week 17, because they know week 16 and 17, there ain't going to be that many meaningful games. So that's how I feel about it. The reaction to Jalen Hurts getting benched. As a competitor, I understand why he said what he said. But, bro, at the end of the day, like, you're lucky it looks more than likely you're going to be the starter for the Philadelphia Eagles. Cut down on your turnovers. You know what I'm saying? Like, you fumble a lot, but it looks like Philly has their starting quarterback. And that's how I feel about Jalen Hurts getting benched. He should have not played, period, if that was the way you felt. But, Doug Peterson, he's going to say what he's going to say to try to he said what he said. I don't take it seriously, and I don't think anybody really took that seriously, but I just found it funny how evilly irked you Giants fans were. The integrity of the game.
Besides being a Giants fan, I think the entire NFL thought that this wasn't the right decision. I mean, again, you have nothing to play for other than your pride at this point, right? I mean, whether you lose or you win, it doesn't mean anything other than a draft pick at this point. But, if there wasn't so much riding on this game, like if this game didn't have any playoff implications, right? I mean, would this be this big of a deal? Probably not, right? Probably not. But
it was a big game for Washington. Like, they needed to win. The Giants were hoping that Philly would beat them, do them a favor. But you're a rival. That is your NFC East rival. They have no loyalty to you, and there's beef between the Giants and, so the Washington football team, hey, we're down by 3. If we win, Giants get in, but we lose a high draft pick. All right, let me guarantee this loss. Let me bench Jalen Hurts. And Giants fans, you should have handled your business. Win 8 games, you win the division. But moving forward, man, we're going to talk about the NFL preview.
As much as it hurts me to say, right?
Say that again.
As much as it hurts me to say this, the Washington football team, formerly the Redskins, nameless, like you mentioned earlier, are the NFC East champions, and they will host the Bucs this weekend. So we've got a number of games this weekend, games that I'm really looking forward to. So we'll go over some of the games here on Saturday, and I'll ask you to pick who you think will win, and just let me know, let the fans know why. So first game we have here, Colts versus the Bills at Buffalo. Who you got?
Bills. Bro, I didn't realize the Bills is really they're the truth, bro. Josh Allen. Everybody was kind of worried about how accurate of a passer he was. He always had a big arm, but they didn't realize how big of how accurate he would be. But man, once they added Stephon Diggs and I mean, they blazed it up, and their defense is pretty solid as well. And the Bills, how they smacked down Miami, and Miami played really tough competitive football this year. Man, they're going to beat the Colts. I don't trust Phillip Rivers. He has, he's turnover prone in those big moments. You don't know if he's going to score or he's going to throw an INT. He played pretty solid, but a lot of it had to do with the running game there that the Indianapolis Colts have. But Bills will win that matchup.
Yeah, I would agree.
Handily.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
I would go Bills here. I remember the Bills and the Texans playing in the first round last year, and the Bills were up a couple touchdowns. And I noticed that Josh Allen was doing a little bit too much, and it was his first playoff game. He didn't have a guy like Diggs on the outside to throw to. Defense was still good, but this year they're just so much better. I mean, their defense is top 5 in the league. Josh Allen's the MVP candidate. I can't see the Colts competing with the Bills, especially in Buffalo. If the conditions are a Buffalo style game, expect snow,
Right.
expect it to be very cold, and I've got the Bills winning by multiple touchdowns. The afternoon slate is you got the the Los Angeles Rams and the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. Who you got there?
Seahawks for sure. Rams has been mass and consistent the last few games of the season. Jared Goff, is he that guy? I haven't seen it. He's an above average quarterback, in the middle of the pack, game manager, needs to make good throws on third down, but that defense hasn't been lights out as you expected them to be. The running game inconsistent, and they look like they play down to their competition. They don't really rise up in those type of moments. And I think this is the year that your boy for the Seahawks, our quarterback Russell Wilson, shows the world why he is that top quarterback. So I'm definitely giving the edge to the Seahawks just because I'm not going to count out on Russell Wilson playing in those moments. And that's my pick. It's going to be the Seattle Seahawks for that matchup.
Yeah, I would agree as well on that. And to every point you made, Goff being inconsistent, the defense being inconsistent. I mean, ever since they made that Super Bowl run a couple years ago, they just kind of been on the decline. And that's kind of like the trend, right? Whatever team that makes the Super Bowl and loses. I mean, look at Atlanta right now. They're about to they're about to take apart their entire team. But that's a whole nother topic.
Right.
But I would agree, man. I would say the Seahawks, especially in Seattle, Russell Wilson, playoff Russell is he's as clutch as they come, and I'm excited for that matchup. Those games are always a defensive heavy game, no matter what happens, because they're the conference foes. So we'll see what that comes to be, but I do think Seattle will win. And then the nightcap for Saturday, we have Tampa Bay Bucks, Tom Brady, Tampa versus the Washington football team. I'm going to go Tampa on this one. I will never bet against Brady in the playoffs, no matter what team he has, just because he's Tom. But, I want to mention in this game, after Washington beat Philly on Sunday, Chase Young screaming off the field, "I'm ready. I want Tom Brady." What's your reaction to that?
Bucks is definitely going to win this game, but check this out. I think it's going to be a little bit more competitive than what people might give them credit. That defense that Washington has, if they could put pressure up the middle, Brady does not do well with pressure. The problem is that Washington doesn't have a lot of offensive firepower, and they've struggled to even pass 100 yards in a game. But that defense, if we've seen the Bucks offense not click, and when Brady kind of locks in on one or two guys, he has a massive. He has so many weapons. Brady has, and I think he's kind of now a little bit comfortable to know who he needs to get the ball to. So ultimately, I think you're going to see a kind of a struggle the first 3 quarters, and then the Bucks will pull off in the fourth quarter. That's my prediction. But that defensive line and O-line is going to be the matchup in that series. So I think it's going to be maybe a 21-10, but it's going to be a struggle throughout the game. Like I said, that
O-line kind of playoff game.
Yeah, and then it's going to, towards the end, they'll score a touchdown and blow the thing out the water. But that defense is going to put some lickings on Tom Brady just because that O-line has it. They've gotten better, but I don't think they have gotten up to that point. But Bucks will win. But I think that's going to be a lot more competitive to him. Yeah. But Chase Young, that dude, he's the truth. But Bucks win that matchup, 21-10, something like that.
I would agree. And fun fact for you too, that or defensive line for Washington, they're all first round picks. So, Washington obviously was doing something right when they were picking all first rounders to start that defense. Is something similar that Dallas did with their O line. In the Romo years, every year they picked the offensive lineman, and they had one of the best lines in football. But to your point, I would agree. I just think playoff time and Tampa, they've got one too many weapons that the defense may not be able to cover. But moving to Sunday, this is what I'm excited about. We've got a lot of good games Sunday to watch. One in particular is the rematch of last year's divisional game, the Ravens versus the Titans. In my honest opinion, MVP Derrick Henry leading.
I agree, man.
Leading that Tennessee team. And this is a little bit different. This game is in Tennessee. I know there's no fans. Last year it was in Baltimore, but I know there's no fans. It's not going to be as, energetic as you would like to, host a playoff game. But what's your thoughts with Baltimore coming into Tennessee and playing a team that they are familiar with?
I'm torn because here's my dilemma, not because of the teams necessarily, because I'm a Pats fan. We had a disappointing season this year, though Cam looked good the last game of the season against the lowly Jets. But Derrick Henry, in my opinion, should be considered an MVP candidate. And the man rushed for 2,000 yards this year. Yes, Tannehill has played far better than people expected him to, and he's the passing game. But that team, its success depends on Derrick Henry's ability to run the football, and he should be an MVP candidate. Now, here's the other dilemma. I would like to see my boy, Jackson, to get his break to win. So I'm going to give a slight edge to the Ravens. I think that Jackson,
Lamar.
Quarterback's name. Lamar Jackson.
Yep, Lamar Jackson. Yeah.
I'm hoping that Lamar Jackson gets his first playoff win. It will be a low-scoring game, in my opinion. And I hope that Derrick Henry puts in enough, makes an impact in that game to allow the MVP, voters to possibly give him some consideration. That's why I'm kind of locked into this game. But I'm rooting for the Ravens just because I want Lamar Jackson to really get that that monkey off his back, and I think he'll prove it. I think he'll prove it this game. That's my gut feeling.
I hear that. I'm gonna have to go here with Tennessee, and honestly, just because of Derrick Henry. I mean, if Henry has a good game, Tennessee wins. If he doesn't have a good game, it'll be close. Might come down to like the last possession close. I think both defenses is really what's gonna judge this game too. So kind of like we talked about with Tampa, this might be like a 14-17 kind of game or 24-21 kind of thing. Last second field goal possibly. But if Derrick Henry doesn't get it going, Tennessee's gonna have to rely on Tannehill, and we'll just see what he can do there. Comparing him to last year's playoff run, he really didn't throw the ball that much. Tennessee relied on Derrick Henry a lot, and rightfully so, took him to the championship game with a chance to win. But I'm gonna go Tennessee here. The afternoon game, we have the Chicago Bears and the New Orleans Saints. I am hoping for Drew Brees' legacy for his career that New Orleans finally catches a break. I feel like they've been cheated or kind of gypped in the last couple years. But with that being said, Chicago's defense is really good too. So what's your thought? I feel like this is the wild card matchup of the entire weekend. Yeah. You have a really good defense versus Drew Brees and New Orleans, who is they're really good too. But I don't know, man. I just think Chicago's defense is better.
As a fan, I would love to see a Saints-Buccaneers rematch in the playoffs and Brady beating Brees in the playoffs, especially after Brees just, swept him during the regular season. That's what I would love to see. But I think the Bears pull off the upset. Drew Brees the last 2 years have looked great during the regular season. When it comes to playoffs, it just mental blocks. He can't. He's the same player. And here's where I really love to where I want the story to kind of really the plot twist of the story. I want Mitch Trubisky to play so well and play that the Bears are signing him to a long-term deal only for them to be sent back 5 years. So I don't want I've been hearing rumors that, he might opt out and the Patriots might consider. I'm like, no, gosh, no, keep him in Chicago. But I think something like that is crazy is going to happen. The Bears are going to beat the Saints. Mitch Trubisky is going to play a very phenomenal game. He ran out the pocket. He ran when he needed to run. He big on third downs. Is this the quarterback? Well, let's sign him for a 5-year deal, $80 million. And then poof, you're going to realize he's not this quarterback. Right. So that's going to be my wild card pick, is going to be the Bears over the Saints.
I would do the same. Again, to every point you made, I would do the same exact thing. I think when we look at the scores on Monday morning, I won't be surprised if you see a game that's like 17-10 Bears or 21-10 Bears or something like that. And then we've got the nightcap, the Browns and Steelers. We got breaking news earlier today that the Browns head coach is not coaching. 4 more coaches are possibly not coaching due to COVID, NFL COVID rules. So that's a big factor there. We've seen the Steelers in the last couple of weeks. They've struggled. Ben Roethlisberger struggled a little bit throwing the ball. The offense hasn't been that good, defense as well. And we've seen the Browns pick up their game, and they've played very well the last couple of weeks. So this is the perfect way to end an NFL opening round playoff weekend. Browns Steelers in Pittsburgh. Who do you have?
Browns. Listen, I'm not the biggest Baker Mayfield fan. I know that they're saying, oh well, everything rides on Nick Chubb, bro. Like Nick Chubb has been the difference maker for Cleveland. Agreed. And Pittsburgh has not shown that they're good. Even when they were supposed to play the last 2 games, Ben Roethlisberger has not. You could tell. Here's where Pittsburgh, the dilemma with Pittsburgh, they don't have a strong running game, and Ben Roethlisberger can't throw it down the field. So they're throwing these 5-6 yard passes, and so the defenses are literally cramping up. Everybody's boxed in the middle and taking away the middle of the field and forcing him to throw, and he just hasn't been consistent. I think the Browns have the confidence, they have the swag, they made the playoffs, they have nothing to lose. The pressure is really on Pittsburgh to not lose a game to the Cleveland Browns at home. Pittsburgh has not shown consistency. I think the coach Mike Tomlin will get this team prepared, but I just think is Ben Roethlisberger going to rise during the playoffs? I don't know. Just the last 5 games of the regular season, Pittsburgh have not shown that they're really good, and their offense has been sporadic at best. If Baker Mayfield has one of those games where he's, I think it was a game versus Tennessee where he threw like for 4 touchdowns and 400 plus yards, something ridiculous. He doesn't need to do that. Just run the ball, run and play defense. Right. And I think the Browns pull off the upset. That's my opinion. Just because the Pittsburgh Steelers have not shown that they were really that consistent.
Well, and this is where I disagree on sitting your starting players in week 17, right? Because essentially Ben Roethlisberger had a bye week, right? So now he's come in. Now he's played 16 weeks straight. He sits for a week. His routine may be off, and then he comes into a game against an opponent who's hot right now, and he's expected to play at a high level, right? Now, the first couple of drives, maybe he's rusty, who he throws an interception, who knows? But then it's too late in the playoffs. So I agree with you.
I don't agree because, like I said, Ben Roethlisberger been in the league for how many years now? 15, 16? I don't know how long he's been, but he's a pro's pro. Right. So 1 week of rest is going to be more beneficial for him than someone like, let's say, a Baker Mayfield who hasn't been in that position to not get his reps in. So, but yeah, I just, like I said, I don't buy that notion that 1 week is going to hurt Pittsburgh or Ben Roethlisberger, if anything. He's been in that position before. The team around him may not be, but even with James Conner and Juju, they've been in the playoffs before, so they're prepared. I just don't think they're going to the inconsistency throughout the regular season. I just don't see it automatically. There's a light bulb switch, and then they're just going to blaze the league on fire.
Sure.
So
I'll tell you what,
Browns.
though. I'll tell you what, if Baker Mayfield leads the Browns into Pittsburgh and they come out with a win, he is
They're building him a statue, bro.
Legend. Oh, for sure. He's a legend.
Cleveland.
This is the greatest season they've ever had since, Jim Brown. And I mean,
they'd be like, LeBron who? Oh, bro, you're going to see even more commercials with Baker Mayfield if that boy if he beats Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh in
and
a
it's
playoff.
Possible. I agree to what you said. I think if they run the ball and the defense shows up, I think the game's going to be a lot closer than what a lot of people are truly saying. But that's the NFL weekend there, and we talk about this off the record here, my friend. You are a Steph Curry enthusiast, right? And we talked a lot about the Nets and the teams that are competing, right? Golden State, LA. I've got to ask you, Brooklyn has been struggling. I mean, they're not the top team in the East right now. Granted, it's early. Mm-hmm. But is it too early to call that they're no longer a contender for the finals?
Well, like I said, it's a little too early. I think because it's so early in the season, I think we've kind of missed basketball. We see the team play one game is like, they're the team to beat. I mean, I think it was a second game and everybody on the news, ESPN, it didn't matter what you turn on. I was like, oh, the Nets are the team to beat. Like, bro, it's a second game, man. Like, they got to go through some adversity. They got to get the season, this COVID. We just saw that Kevin Durant now is going to be missing the next 4 games because of COVID protocol. They just lost Dinwiddie. Backup point, Dinwiddie for the Nets. I think it's too early to call. At the end of the day, Kevin Durant shows that he's still Kevin Durant. He's not, in my opinion, he was never like this explosive player, but he never was dependent on his explosiveness to create a jump shot. And we talked about this before. Is that dynamic between Kyrie and Kevin Durant, is it going to mesh well? They show that they can play together, but it was interesting versus Washington when they both missed the game-winning jump shot, how immediately people reminded Kyrie Irving, oh, what about this clutch gene that you was talking, immediately. And so that's going to be the adversity that they're going to have to deal with. I think it's a little too early to call. They have a bench, man. And at the end of the day, what's really going to hinder them from winning a championship is their consistency on defense. Can they be a good defensive team, or they're just going to look to outscore everybody that they play against, which they're capable of doing it. But when the games slow down and the jump shots are not going in as you would like to, are the Nets really a great defensive or at least a middle of a pack defensive team to make those stops when necessary to win a game? So I think, yes, they are slumping, but they're 3-4, still early in the season. One of your top rotational players is injured. They're still figuring each other out. But at the end of the day, are you really gonna bet against Kevin Durant? I'm not. So, I know you being a Knicks fan, you're like, well, yeah, we're 4. I think it was this morning. It was our first take. There was like 4-3 Knicks versus a 3-4 Brooklyn. It's like, bro, like, yes, Tom Thibodeau, as I said, got those guys playing hard. That's what you can expect from a Tom Thibodeau team. But they don't have enough offensive talent, in my opinion. New York doesn't, to really compete with the best. And so they're not going to miss the playoffs. The Brooklyn Nets are not going to miss the playoffs. They named 6 other better teams in the East than Brooklyn Nets just based on talent alone. So yeah, I don't see it happening. So yes, they're slumping. It's way too early to call. I said they're going to be a top 3 team in the East, and they have shown flashes that they are a good team. But then those moments when they played against Washington, they played down to their competition. Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook actually played a good game. So, but I think it's too early to call. It's only game 7, game 8. We're only 7-8 games into the season. Right. I think you wait until after the All-Star break. That's when I really start seeing teams. Okay, they're accustomed to each other. You have a handful of games under your belt. And then you start really playing, you start playing for something more than the regular season standards. You're really trying to either, to the buy-in or to the playoffs or to the the buy-in, call-in? What is it of the last
they're doing some like round robin playing thing, kind of like they did in the bubble.
The play-in game. That's what it is. I couldn't get the words right, but that's it, man. So I think it's a little too early to call. What are your thoughts on the Brooklyn Nets?
I mean, to your point, it's a little bit of both, right? Early to call, but they're slumping. They're not really playing well. I do think Steve Nash, the head coach, has to figure out the rotation a little bit better. I read something the other day that he's trying not to have the media have this mindset where it's DeAndre Jordan versus Jarrett Allen, because they play the same position. Essentially, they're the same player. Just DeAndre Jordan's a little bit more seasoned, right? But yeah, I think that once he figures out a solid rotation, and then especially with Durant being out, maybe some other players can step up and get some more confidence down the line. They'll be fine. They'll be a playoff team, probably Eastern Conference Finals kind of playoff team. I don't know if they'll win the East. I really don't. But they'll be fine. KD.
But a lot of the coaches. Yeah, you were saying, a lot of the coaches are still figuring out their rosters. They're going 11 deep at times. And finding the right combination and everything like that. And because the pressure isn't to make the final 8 teams, there is
True.
You just said it.
the playing game.
Playing, right. Because there is a play-in, you have some wiggle room. You could still be the 10th seed and still make it into the play-in. Sure. And so
I think you don't want to be Brooklyn and be the 10th seed. You're expecting,
but that's not going to happen. Are they? So by them being the 10th seed, that means a team like you're gonna have to convince me that a team like Cleveland is going to be better than them when it's all said and done, or the Charlotte Hornets are going to be better than them, or like just on talent alone, they're going to make the top 4 in the East, just on talent alone. Sure. So I'm not overly concerned about that. But yeah, so I think it's a combination of both. Yeah, they're slumping, but this is the beauty of the game of basketball. You have to figure it out, right? And you have to find the right rotations. You got to put yourself in various situations to learn, and then you grow, and then we'll see what they are after the playoffs. But I know that one of the hot discussions as we conclude our podcast today is this slander, bro, against Team Light Skin, aka Steph Curry. You know what I mean? I don't appreciate the slander that my boy Steph Curry has been receiving. And before I go off, and before I give it to you, and then you alley-oop it back to me.
Yep.
Y'all forgot that this man is a 2-time MVP, the world's greatest shooter in the world. He was drafted, was it 8th or 9th in the NBA? Like, nobody expected.
It was one pick before the Knicks.
Oh, don't tell me about the Knicks, because as much hate as you give on Stephen Curry, bro, like, you wouldn't even appreciate him in New York. All right, so let's get that out the way. But like, I love the picture that I think it was ESPN that posted. It was like the 3 banners that Stephen Curry won, and he's like, anyway, it was an epic photo. Yeah, of course, as a photographer, it was an awesome photo. But I was like, y'all must have forgot. The man missed 1 season, and he was already forgotten about being the best point guard in the league. Is Damian Lillard, Kemba Walker, everybody except for Steph. And he had to remind, he didn't say anything, but I saw the memes. Oh, if it was LeBron James, he would have had this. Well, currently standing, Golden State are 6th in the West. He gets tripled. I've been watching a lot of Golden State, because I have NBA League Pass. I've been watching some of these games. He gets double teamed and triple teamed, and yet the man is still averaging 30 points, shooting 40% plus from the field and 38% from 3, bro. Like, put some respect on his name. They don't love Steph. Why don't they love Steph? Because he's a light-skinned, non-athletic point guard, and he changed the game. Like, the NBA currently constructed is because of Steph Curry. Not even LeBron James made an impact in the game of basketball Stephen Curry did. He didn't change the rules of basketball. You only think of a handful of players. Shaquille O'Neal, Michael Jordan, Stephen Curry, who impacted the game and changed the game the way it's played. LeBron didn't even do that. So as much as we talked about LeBron segments, is I want my damn respect. Bro, like nobody disrespects you. Like there's LeBron, there's Jordan enthusiasts who are always going to argue the fact that LeBron isn't the greatest of all time because 6 is greater than 4, right? Like that's at the end of the day, 6 is greater than 4. But this idea that Steph Curry, I don't know what people think Steph Curry isn't, but he showed. And if you saw the game versus Portland, bro, he was hitting shots like off balance, legs wide open. He's getting contact, hitting, swishing. He could not be stopped. Even David Lillard was like, "Dang, if I can dish it, I got to take it." So yeah, y'all need to put a respect on my on the light skinned brother's name. You know what I mean? Like these dark skinned brothers out here can't be punking us all the time. We've been shooters. We've always been shooters, and we'll always be shooters. So shout outs to Steph Curry on your career high. You know, now they got Draymond Green back. I think he really initiates the offense, which it was never Steph Curry's objective on the offense. That offense that Steve Kerr has always been Draymond who jumpstarts that offense. So him being back is a big boost. He could kind of mentor the Wiseman of the world, the Wiggins of the world. And dog, I'll let you go. But I got so much to say. Go ahead. Give me your thoughts.
Here's my thing, right? You talk about slander. He's one of the best players in the NBA, hands down. He's up there with the LeBrons. He's up there with Giannis. I mean, he's a superstar. Like you said, he changed the game. He's dominant in that regard of changing the game. You have to be dominant if you can change the game. So my argument to this, the way I view this, if Steph Curry is so great, right? If he's so great, if he's such the shooter and the playmaker and this and that, why is he not making his team better? Right? Why does he need Klay Thompson? Why does Draymond have to play such an influence too? Right? And I want to compare this to LeBron because to me, we look at the teams that LeBron has taken to the playoffs, taken to the finals, and none of those guys were all-stars. None of those guys were, MVP caliber players like a Klay Thompson, all NBA, all defensive players. Like Curry has those guys in his corner and has had them since he's been drafted with Golden State. They built a dynasty, rightfully so. But if we expect the same from LeBron, we have to expect the same from Curry. We expect the same from Giannis every year. Why?
But here's why your argument falls apart. No one has ever considered Stephen Curry the best player in the NBA. Never. For all the reasons that you mentioned, he's undersized, right? He's not super athletic. So we look at the best players, the most athletic, most dominant. Giannis and LeBron James are dominant players. They can force their will in any game, change the game based on their just physicality and their build. Stephen Curry can dominate a game on his jump shooting. So he has a certain skill set that is on an elite level. But at the end of the day, the man is still undersized. The offense, his teammates haven't even been hitting shots, bro. Like, I think Kelly Oubre before the game versus Portland was 1 for 25 from 3-point range. 1 for 25, Jono. Like, they literally triple team this man and leaves Kelly Oubre wide open. And this brother has no confidence in his jump shot that he's shooting. Wiggins, everybody's, okay, this is Steph thing. So we kind of wait to see what Steph. So Steph in this game versus Portland, he took it upon himself. He's like, I'm going to get the offense going. And as a result, then people started playing up to their level. But Stephen Curry is a very unselfish superstar. He tried to get everybody else involved. What makes Steph Curry great is that he doesn't need the ball to dominate a game, but he's not a dominant. He doesn't will his team based on his physicality. We said this about Allen Iverson, for example. Is he one of the all-time greats? Absolutely. But we don't put him up there in the echelons of like the Jordans, the LeBrons, the Shaqs of the world because he was a 6'1" point guard.
But
the man showed that he could.
But there was a time when AI was a dominant player in the league where you knew he was going to give you 30 a
You
night.
didn't know. You never thought he was a dominant player. T-Mac was you looked at T-Mac and you said, okay, he's dominant because of his skill set as a 6'8", a skill set type player. But Allen Iverson was always undersized. The difference between him and everybody else was the heart that he had, the hustle that he had. But you never thought of Allen Iverson as a dominant player. No, the man just had a whole bunch of heart. And that's what people loved about Allen Iverson when he played against the Giants. He wasn't supposed to be competing with these guys. He was smaller than everybody else. He wasn't, he wasn't like this super athletic. I mean, he was athletic, right? But it wasn't like the Derrick Rose when he in his prime or Russell Westbrook. Like the man wasn't even a great shooter. He was a scorer, but the boy played with a lot of heart. That's what made him different from anybody else. But you never considered that. I would never buy that. And whoever thinks that Allen Iverson was ever a dominant player. He won an MVP, but they never thought that he was the best player in the NBA. They give that to Kobe Bryant, to T-Macs of the world, to Tim Duncans of the world. But that was the difference. You don't look at Steph Curry, it's like, oh yeah, he's a dominant player. Everybody looks at Steph Curry and they literally think, okay, I'm going to punk this dude. And then he shoots lights out and then they're like, oh. Yeah. So,
But you mentioned something about Curry where nobody sees him as one of the best players in the NBA. We can't forget that this man, good God, he's one of the greatest shooters to ever play the game, right? He was voted for the first time ever in NBA history a unanimous MVP and then won 2 in a row. So at that point, he was the best player in the NBA.
Because he did something that no other player has ever done. Right.
So at that point, he's got to be dominant in his own right to be voted unanimously as the best player in the NBA.
Okay, so let's do this. Define dominant, Jono. Define dominant.
You can be dominant in shooting. You could be dominant. You could be the best passer in the league and be dominant in that specific part of the game. You don't have to physically be bigger, stronger, and faster than everybody. And that's to my point. Steph Curry is a dominant NBA basketball player. He's the best shooter. You can't have the title of the best shooter to ever play the game and not be dominant in that kind of skill. So in this regard, to me, he's up there with LeBron. He's up there with Giannis. He's one of the guys that's the face of the NBA, right? So there's no reason why that we can't expect him to bring his team to a level of competition every single night. The same way we expect Giannis to do it and the same way we expect LeBron to do it.
Why do you think people love Stephen Curry? Why do you think
he brings excitement to the game?
It's not just that. It's
that scratches your head and it's like, whoa, like what just happened?
I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's a fact that this brother looks like an average guy and it gives hope to the average basketball player. Like, I don't have to be a LeBron James in order for me to make an impact on the game. This is why, as a coach, Jono, you hate Stephen Curry because he ruined the game of basketball because all of these kids are shooting 3-pointers from 30 feet out and they can't hit a jump. Why? Because they look at somebody like Stephen Curry who doesn't have to be the fastest, doesn't have to be the biggest, but he can take over a game with his skill set. That's what it is, a skill set of shooting. But it's not, you never look at on the basketball court, it's like, oh yeah, look at Stephen Curry. He's just a dominant player. He doesn't enforce his will on a game. That's what you think a dominant force. Giannis is dominant. LeBron dominant. Shaq in his prime dominant. These guys can't be stopped. Stephen Curry, he's just an elite shooter. This is why even LeBron James in his prime wasn't getting triple team, bro. He wasn't getting, even double team. Maybe early on when he couldn't really shoot that consistent jump shot, they played zone on LeBron and then forced LeBron to kind of take jumpers. Now his jumper has improved. But bro, I'm watching these games and they are shadowing this man, double team, coming off screens, putting a body on him, knocking him over. Why? Because as a shooter, if your legs go out, you get tired, that jumper is not going to go in, right? But once that happens, they don't look at him as like, okay, guys, he's going to just enforce his will upon us, right? His skill set allows him to be to really impact the game. But when I think of dominance, you're thinking of body. You're thinking of just a mere freak of nature. This is why LeBron James, his basketball IQ is immaculate, but he's still a force of nature. He can't be stopped because of his physicality of the game. He can still outbody everybody. He can outsmart everybody. Giannis is the same way. So you're hoping those guys develop a skill set to take that dominant where you don't always have to. Can you hit a consistent jump shot when the defense forces you to shoot? Can you hit that jump shot? So this idea that, Stephen Curry, he even, the fact that he was drafted 8th, the fact that he won MVP is because he did, he was the first player in NBA history to shoot 50% from the field, 40% from 3-point range. He broke the NBA record for most 3-pointers, and he shot 90% from the free throw line. And he's done it more than once. He has a phenomenal skill set, but dominant. I guess this is where we're gonna always clash, because dominance isn't dominant for me. If I get on the basketball court, your physicality to me, like, man, we gotta really, put our focus and attention on this guy. If Steph Curry wasn't Steph Curry, nobody's looking at Steph Curry and saying, okay, guys, we got to double team this guy. He's the smallest guy on the court. He's not as fast. He's not athletic. He's a good point guard, but let's focus our attention over here to this big guy. Who are we going to guard? Who are we going to put onto this guy that is not going to enforce his will? And at the end of the day, Jono, what are you going to do when your teammates ain't hitting jump shots? You're passing the ball and the guy is missing wide open jump shots. So I don't think it's fair to put LeBron James and Steph Curry in the same category, because they're not athletically, they're not even in the same bracket. They're not even in the same breath.
Right.
It's just Steph Curry is elite because of the skill set that he has, of him being a phenomenal shooter. So let me ask you this. If you take away his jump shooting ability, where does Steph Curry lies? He's not even a bench player.
No, he's just a regular Joe. He's a bench warmer.
LeBron James, does he have to have an elite jump shot in order for him to be dominant?
Right. No, I get your point. I get your point. So at the end of the day, right, when it's all said and done and Steph Curry becomes one of us, he's retired and he's talking about sports, how do you explain to the younger generation about his game? Who is he compared to in regards to the greats
he's
of
not
the
compared
NBA?
to anybody. He's compared to Steph Curry. You look back at the Isaiah Thomases of the world, of course, the bad blood with MJ, and, he was just a butthead, all throughout his career. But when you think about elite point guards, he's a top 5 point guard in the league to ever play the game. Steph Curry carved out a niche in his own right. Even LeBron James, he's his own player, but you can kind of compare him to, he was a Karl Malone with a passing ability of a Magic Johnson, with the greatness, right? Or with the greatness of a Michael Jordan in the sense of worldwide fame, right? Giannis, he had the dominance of a Shaquille O'Neal. You can compare Steph Curry. Who do you compare him to? Nobody, because nobody could shoot that way. You could talk about Reggie Miller. He wasn't doing what he was doing. Ray Allen, he wasn't doing. Steph Curry is going to be someone who you have to put in his own separate category as a point guard who was just one of the most elite shooters that we've ever seen. You can't compare him to anybody. Like he's carved his own lane, in my opinion. And here's why I say that. People are comparing Trae Young to Stephen Curry, but you don't hear Stephen Curry being compared to anybody, because he set the standard. He's kind of set the mark. And again, it wasn't based on his athletic gifts or ability. He's just a solid, well-rounded point guard with a skill set of shooting that we have never seen before. So Steph Curry inspires a generation. It's like, hey, if you just work on your jump shot day in and day out, you can be a Steph Curry. You don't have to be the fastest. You don't have to be the quickest. You just have to be able to learn a skill set. And that's why it makes Stephen Curry so likable and so relatable, because it's like, that can be me. You know what I'm saying? You root for the little guy. And this is why the Cleveland Golden State championship series, like LeBron James, the big bad bully. And then you see this little, light-skinned assassin, babyface assassin, like put it in work. And you're like, how is he scoring? He's not, get out my way, layup. He's
not a typical NBA player.
And that's what makes Stephen Curry such a special talent, because it's like anybody could be Steph Curry in the sense of, if you just work on it. This is why I was like, but that's neither here or there. That's just, but LeBron James, like, how many 6'8" dudes do you see walking around that is 260, 240?
Right.
Zion Williamson is the same way. You look at him, you're like, he's a dominant freak of nature. That's what I think dominance. Steph Curry is not dominant. He's just a great, skilled player, and his skill set is on the elite level. But if he's off, how is he dominating?
True.
So that's, he could beat you other ways. Passing the ball. He's a willing defender, but his skill set is what makes him a phenomenal player. But dominance, it's usually based on your physicality, your ability to, I'm going to use my size to my advantage.
True.
That's my thoughts.
Gotcha. I hear that. Love the passion behind your light skinned brother, Steph Curry, babyface assassin. But Lo, as always, my friend, I appreciate having these discussions here with you.
For sure.
Until next time, Benchwarmers family, please make sure you follow us on Instagram, Benchwarmers Podcast. Follow Lo's, my friend, established author. Follow his journey with his book on his Facebook, and feel free to chime in on YouTube as well. Peace.
All right, guys. Until the next one. Holla. Peace.